And we had a lot of fabric. 2 of my suitcases were totally full of fabric. We tried to divide things up so we didn't have to pay a tax. When you go down there now, if they see a whole suitcase is full of one thing, they think you're going to sell it. And you'd have to pay $200 for one suitcase. But what we did on our packing night, we would take out like half of my material and put in like school supplies. Some people donated school supplies for the kids. We bought books last year, knowing we were going to come this year, and they would be like little Bible books about Noah's Ark, different stories in the Bible for kids, all in Spanish. And so I put some of those in there. And other people from Mulhall, they had other school supplies for the kids for Sunday school. And then we put some of Rachel's medical supplies. I don't know who all donated from around here for the medical supplies, but we put some of that stuff in. And we put Pedialyte in, and we put Ensure in, and mixed them all up in everybody's suitcases. So when we got down there, if they checked, they wouldn't tax us. And as far as I know, everybody got their stuff through. I never heard that they had to pay tax. But they're getting smarter now with all the missionaries that go down, that, you know, they can make money on this. But
and sometimes you have to, when we drove in, you had to bribe them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, to get yourself past the border. Jesus didn't mind us doing that.
And the weather was really nice the whole time we were there. It was a little bit cooler than some of the people. The new people didn't know how cool it was going to be, but the sun goes down right at 6 o'clock, comes up at 6 o'clock. So once that sun goes down, it's in the 40s. And we had church service in the evenings outside the church. And we were cold. I had on a shirt, I had on a sweatshirt, I had on a jacket. That's how cold I was. And then my daughter's saying, oh, it's the hottest day ever here in Kingfisher. I knew how bad it was for y'all here. But she would see my picture and couldn't believe it. You know, me and Peggy, we were all like, you know. But we had the bonfire going outside, and they would have a projector up on the wall of the church where they could put the words of the songs we were singing. And I'd sing part of the words because I kind of know some of how they say the words. So they'd have Spanish words and a couple Spanish songs, and they'd have the English, you know, some of them that we're familiar with here, and we'd sing. And they probably tried to sing our English words too, but, you know, it was just a fun time, and we made s'mores for them. They'd never had anything like that.
Wow.
And at first we only had enough for the children, but, you know, that was a special treat at church to have a s'more. And
what songs did you sing?
I don't remember what they were. I might have to. I haven't written anything down yet. That'll come to me later. But all the women, and one of the things that is just so great is how some of them that came back recognized me, and they were all excited and hugged me when they came up. And then when they left, see, we would just have a certain amount in the morning. I probably wouldn't see them again. They would hug me and kiss me, and so appreciative. I don't know what they said, but I'm sure it was good. Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah, they were just such sweet women. And we had a lot of young girls, teenage girls. We were going to have women in the morning and teenage girls in the afternoon, but somehow they got, you know, mixed together, which was fine. And one lady there always bakes these empanadas for us, and they are wonderful. And she brings them to us, and she took them to, I think, the basketball, when I never got a chance to go see my son either year in basketball because I was always just so busy. And Greg was over with the welding. A lot of the people there had never welded before, of course. And this one little boy came every day, and he said he loves welding now. And see, they can make a career with that. Once they learn welding over there, there's a lot of construction because it's third world country where, you know, everything still needs to be finished. Everything still needs to be constructed, because if you saw any of my pictures on Facebook, you see what the housing is like there. And I hope a lot of you did look at that, but I thank you for all the prayers too, and your financial support. Everybody in this room either helped pay for my trip or paid for supplies. I found out they don't have elastic down there, so next time we go, I'm going to have to get some more of that elastic, because the pastor's wife said, what is that? We don't have that here. So hopefully we can find someplace there in Quito that has it, or else we'll just have to take it with us when we go down. There's still a lot of fabric left that she can at least do the Bible covers with all the women that come. And they love the Bible covers. Oh, they really did. And they brought their Bibles, and we'd mark around them about 1.5 inches, and they saw how to do all of it, so I'm sure they'll know how to do it after we leave. We had a little bit of the interfacing we put in there, and some of those pictures are on Facebook too. The third day, they were going to go shopping with the women and teach them how to buy fabric at the fabric store. Well, our medical clinic was just overrun, if you can imagine people not having any medical care. So the third day I said, Lori, since you're going shopping with the women today, can I go help Rachel Cameron with the medical clinic? And she said, sure, you go on, which is good, because they couldn't take everybody shopping. It just would have been chaos. So anyway, I had that experience, which was wonderful. We had 72 patients come in that day, but we only had it open till 1 because it was the last day. Then we had to pack everything up and organize everything. And what I got to do was blood pressure and blood sugar. And a lot of them did with their blood sugar taken, but I don't think they knew what it was going to be like. Because some of them, you prick their finger, they go about jump out of their chair, you know. And a lot of their blood sugar was good. Of course, they don't hardly eat.
It could be low blood sugar.
It was usually just right around perfect. Yeah. And a lot of their blood pressure was normal. We had a few that was high, but not too many. And the children, we didn't do those two things. We would weigh the children, and we would take their temperature. We took the temperature of everybody that came in, but the children we just did weight and temperature. And then we'd see, now which one of you are seeing the doctor? Because they come in families. And sometimes it was all of them that wanted to see the doctor, and sometimes just 1 or 2 of them. I didn't really see anybody sick when I was there, but I wasn't over at that station when Rachel really got to talk to him and find out what was wrong with him. But I was glad to have that experience. And the tour day that we went on was really fun too. Usually if you go on a mission trip, the last day they will let you do something just relaxing and something to see where you're at. But they took us to the Temple of the Sun, which we didn't do last year. And you feel like you're in one of those Indiana Jones movies, you know, how they're down under and looking at everything. That's how we felt. And we went to this museum, the middle of the world. You can probably read this in Spanish, can't you? It says, in my journey, I went to the middle of the world and thought of you. Oh. Something like that in the translation. When we were at the Museum of the Sun, or the Temple of the Sun, they gave us, well, we had to buy it, but jade. And I wanted to buy it because they explained how jade is very good for balance. And I said, oh, honey, I need to buy one of those. I need it for balance. So I didn't know a jade stone, if you wear it in your pocket or wear it around your neck, it helps with balance. Who knew?
We all have to get one.
I know. And that day we did meditation. They had oils that we would put on our hands. That one was lavender, which was very smoothing and relaxing. One was chamomile, which kind of is the same way. And then there was another one that was more stimulating. I think that got us all in this meditative state. And they had this music going, and it just sounded like you were in the outback to me, is what it sounded like. But you had to close your eyes and smell it for 2 minutes and just kind of meditate, let your mind wander. And it was very relaxing.
This was at the museum?
This was at the Temple of the Sun.
Oh, okay.
I think they used to worship the sun back there when the Incas were there. And I don't know, it's a very old temple. So that day was fun too. And Greg and I went inside this museum at the middle of the world. They say it's like the one that's most visited by anybody that comes to Ecuador is this museum. And you could see the equator, and Greg had 1 foot in the northern hemisphere, 1 foot in the southern hemisphere. I took a picture of him because Travis and I did that last year. And they will never have bad weather there just because of the forces there at the equator. They won't ever have a bad storm or tornadoes. So they don't know anything about our Oklahoma tornadoes because they'll never see anything like that. Once in a while will rain, but never a storm. Wow. So that's kind of interesting. And if you try to walk a straight line there, it's hard to do because on this side the forces are pulling you, on this side the forces are pulling you. So it's hard to stay straight. And I think several people did that. Chris Cameron and Greg said, I'm not doing that.
need the J.
Yeah, we need the J to stay balanced. But all in all, it was a very nice trip. It's just you're so busy all the time, you can't really go around to see what everybody else is doing. But when we get together at lunch or at supper, we would talk about the different people we would meet. The very first day we're there, we go shopping for some of the supplies we could not bring down with us. And then that next day when we have our fun day, our Super Kids Day, kind of like what we do here in October for Halloween, our festival thing that we have with all the games like Plinko and stuff to bring all the families in. And then they earn their tickets from doing the games, and the tickets they go take over to our table where we have all the donations from Oklahoma, the shirts, the hats, anything else we might have for the children. I took down gifts, which was very special for me. When I was over at the ring toss, I would wait for a certain little boy to come by, and I gave him one of those little Thomas trains because my grandson likes Thomas, and I said, this is going to be for you, and he's all excited, you know, and I got a picture of it. But later that family came to the clinic on Wednesday, and I recognized her, and she's a smiley face. She recognized me, and I said, how does he like that Thomas train? And she goes, oh, he loves it. But just to bring joy to someone is just a wonderful thing. And then I also gave out another train, but you can't have things like that out on the table because they'll fight for them. So it's more you got to do it on a personal level. And one of the little translators that really helped me in sewing, it would have been rough without her, I gave her a Nike hooded sweatshirt. Oh, she just loved it. She put it on right there. She said, I love it. She probably told me 10 times. She loved it. And then the next day she gave me this. This is something she has made, little bracelet. And I didn't expect anything, but when she gave it to me, I thought, oh, you didn't have to do that. But it's just beautiful, you know, something she could do. Her and her mom can do that. But I'm sure there's a lot more to say that I'm not thinking of at the moment. But all in all, it was just a wonderful trip. And I thank Jesus that he let me go on this trip and also allow Greg the experience. Because before Greg went, he was a little bit, well, I don't know, this might be my last year, my one and only, you know, guys. And now he can't wait to go back. It's just you have to experience to really know what it's all about. And Travis, he was off on his own at his basketball clinic and had a great time there. But Valerie would always text me and say, how's Travis doing? How's Greg doing? I'm like, I don't know. I saw him at breakfast. I haven't seen him since. And this was late in the day. It's like you're doing your own things. You just don't see some people, you know. Yeah.
Was there a welding shop that they used to do
No.
the teaching from?
They,
Because you got to have some equipment. You can't carry that in your suitcase.
Last year, where we built the patio, the guys built the patio, that's where they did the welding. And they had to go, the day that we were shopping at that mall for supplies, the guys left and they went and bought stuff for the welding. They went to some place, I don't know where, but
Did they rent a welder then?
I know they used a welder. I don't know if they rented it, but they're going to purchase one to have there now. I'm not sure about any specifics, if Chris is leaving money there or how that's working, but they are going to buy one for the church. But that ministry can continue on now too. Some of the
That's
stuff,
wonderful to teach them a trade.
right,
You know,
right.
That's what, even in your sewing, you're teaching those ladies something that they can do and sell.
Right. And they can come there every other Saturday to the church and make a project and continue making skirts even. So, yeah, it was a great thing to be able to teach them something like that. And then we would always have devotions, like at basketball, they would pull the kids over, and the lady that did the balloon animals, she would talk to them about Jesus, have a story about Jesus. Or like my son Travis gave his testimony to the kids. Just ever so often, you can't play basketball nonstop. They'd send them down and have a little snack and do something like that. And in ours, Lori Hager, since she was in charge of sewing this year, she would stop them like in the middle of our sewing and give some kind of a Bible story or testimony, something, a devotion. And a lot of times when we were upstairs, the women, downstairs, the kids were there with the balloon lady. And we could hear them all. Some of the little kids wanted to come up to be with their mamas, and we said, no, you have to go downstairs. And she would make all kinds of balloon animals for them, and they just loved it. So she was,
I thought that was neat. Have y'all not seen her on Facebook? Don't know if I can.
I think I put up about 400 pictures, just overall experience. But
Yeah, I saw the pictures, they were really nice.
she was new this year, and she is the pastor's wife from Mulhall. And that's what she does for a living. She goes around and she goes to birthday parties and makes these balloon animals. But she
Was
knew.
she the one that was here for the Bible school thing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so she was at our church that Sunday.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And she wanted to pick
She
something
made
that
some cute things.
that would be fast to make.
Yeah.
And so she had pictures on a little paddle, and she'd have the kids point. That way they could go faster, point to what picture they wanted. And she's so fast doing her balloons, you know. That is quite a ministry, because that really was something for the kids.
They're not all in one place. You just have to flip down through them.
And the praise was so good at the church services. Everybody sang out, and just the spirit was so heavy there. It was amazing.
You know, what amazes me, when we went into Mexico, and of course we've not done that for lots of years, you didn't have to beg them to come like you do here.
Mm-hmm.
They're willing. Of course, they also knew the pastor would use us coming as a ploy to get people to come in. They knew they would get things if they came, clothes and everything. Of course, we drove down, so but it just amazed me. And there wasn't time limit when they started church. You didn't know when you was going to get out.
Right. It's more of a laid-back society. When you get there, you get there. It's not like, oh, we got to be there at 8 or we got to be there at 6. One thing I did this year was during the Family Fun Day, I had taken down tracts for the children, and it talked about asking Jesus to come into your heart. It talked about how your mommy and daddy love you, your grandma and grandpa love you, your aunts and uncles love you, but Jesus loves you more. And then it has the salvation prayer on the back. I didn't go through the whole thing since the kids were coming through the line pretty fast, but I would stop them every so often. And I said, I want you to have this. And my little interpreter, she was from here, actually, Hennessy, and when I was doing that. And she'd say a little bit to him, and I'd say a little bit, and she'd translate for me. And I handed out 24 of those tracts, but I thought I could have used a lot more. I should have taken a lot more down there. Because, I mean, tons of kids came that day. And then at the clinic, one of the lawyers over there from Watonga, he had bought a lot of tracts for adults, and he was handing them out there at the medical clinic, and he probably had, he said, I think 8 to 10 salvations just there at the medical clinic. So, and I didn't really go through the whole thing with each child like I wanted to, but I'm still praying over those tracts and hoping there'll be salvations come out of those tracts that I handed out to the families. But I don't know, next year I need to get some more of those.